The director of the Venom movie, Ruben Fleischer, recently spoke at Comic-Con Experience 2017, which was in Brazil. He gave some new interesting details, which gives us our best look yet at what the Venom movie will be like. Let's talk about it. What is up, YouTube? It's Josh. This is the Den of Nerds. If you love comic book movies, subscribe to this channel. We do all sorts of videos when it comes to those types of films. Oh, and shout out to Josh Finch, who got the nerd card question correct in my last Venom video. You definitely know your stuff about comic book movies, so shout out to you, Josh. There will be another nerd card question at the end of this video. So I want to start this video off by talking about the last Venom video that I did. It was a really cool video and I broke down some information there, but I did get a few things wrong, which I want to clarify in this video. There was a couple people that pointed this out to me in the comments section. In the Lethal Protector storyline, Venom does indeed go to San Francisco and he discovers some sort of a weird underground city for the homeless or something like that. And essentially underneath that city is like a hidden city of gold or something. It sounds crazy, like a 90s comic should be. But in either case, what ends up happening there is Venom is protecting the homeless people within that hidden underground village, and he's fighting off some mercenaries, and then he gets saved by a organization who takes him and then manipulates the symbiote to create other offshoot symbiotes, which is very similar to the way that the Carnage symbiote actually first was born. It's from the original Venom symbiote. So I just wanted to clarify those points, but in either case, it is confirmed by the director that Lethal Protector is indeed going to be one of the main comic book storylines that is adapted into the Venom film. The other storyline that will influence this movie is very interesting. It is the Planet of Symbiotes, which can actually probably tell us a little bit more about the tone and certain themes that will take place in the Venom movie. The basic idea of Planet of the Symbiotes starts with Venom and Spider-Man investigating some murders that they think are symbiote related. They then discover that the Venom symbiote itself is trying to convince Brock to kill other people. So he decides to separate from the symbiote in order to think about this problem on his own. Basically, Spider-Man is telling him that he should probably not be with the symbiote anymore, and he's like, well, I can't think clearly about this, and so I have to separate from the symbiote. After he does that, the symbiote basically freaks out and screams this weird message that is picked up by a symbiote ship or a symbiote planet out there in the galaxy. From there, it gets really comic booky and bombastic, but essentially Venom, Scarlet Spider, and Spider-Man team up to stop a symbiote invasion of Earth. Brock, at the end of the story, eventually fully bonds with this symbiote and uses it to sort of do another cry that neutralizes the symbiote threat. At that same Comic-Con in Brazil, they also showed off the logo for the film, which is here, and it looks actually pretty dope to me. And they did talk about the slogan for the movie, which is "We Are Venom." This will likely be some kind of a hashtag, just like All In with Justice League and all that. It'll be something to market around on social media, and it all seems pretty cool to me. Now, let's go to Speculation Town for a little bit. I think all of this feels very science fiction-y, which is an interesting way to take this character and movie, and I do like the idea of focusing on the symbiote as an alien and the alien aspects of it. This could be an interesting way to keep Spider-Man at a minimal in the film and sort of work around some of the problems you might have if you can't have him in the movie at all. Now, on a side note, I am still holding out hope that Tom Holland as Spider-Man will be involved in this film in some way. I said in my last video, it would be cool if they had him just maybe at the beginning of the film, cutting some sort of deal with Brock, telling him to go to San Francisco or something like that. You can even just have him in as a person. You don't even need to have him in as the suit. Now, because in Planet of the Symbiotes, there is Scarlet Spider, there is a possibility that we could get him to replace Spider-Man in the Venom movie. After all, Most of the versions of Scarlet Spider are actually clones of Peter Parker. Now, I know all of this sounds really weird, and I will be following this as best I can to bring updates to you guys. I tried to explain this in the last video, but Sony is essentially doing a spin-off version of the MCU, which they have coined the Sony Marvel Universe. They own licensing to all of the assets within Spider-Man comics. This would be Norman Osborn, the Silver Sable, Black Cat, Mysterio, all sorts of cool characters that they could technically do films of and not infringe on anything going on with the MCU. I personally believe they're going to try to make Tom Holland a part of that to sort of make a segue into the MCU, even though it will not be official. Most casual moviegoers will just assume that all of these movies take place in the same universe. I know it's a little bit weird, and I'll follow it closely and try to update you guys as we find out more about that situation in particular. I guess bottom line, I do think the film could work without Spider-Man in it, but if they try to make it as though Spider-Man doesn't exist, I will have a big problem with it. Interestingly, I believe that the hashtag We Are Venom is also very telling for a cool aspect of the film that might explain why Tom Hardy took this role. The Planet of the Symbiotes story basically starts with Brock not being sure if he should connect and stay symbiotic with the Venom symbiote. The story essentially ends with the symbiote and Brock truly being united, and therefore you have the We Are Venom kind of a thing going on. Now that is a very interesting character-driven plot point. I imagine the script probably focuses on that point and the morality of what it is to be a hero. To me, this sounds pretty amazing, and if it's combined properly with hardcore science fiction with an R rating, man, I get all sorts of cool feelings and images popping into my head when it comes to that. I think it could be really cool. I also briefly want to talk about some set photos that kind of suggest we're beginning some influence from the Agent Venom comics as far as the costume design for the Venom movie. This would have some pouches, some more military influence, perhaps the use of guns and different things like that. Now, I know this might piss some fans off as that was Flash Thompson Venom and not Eddie Brock, but I gotta be honest, I don't necessarily care that much, and I love the Agent Venom design, so if they go that route, I would totally be okay with it. But that is basically the update, guys. The Venom movie is totally a real thing. People are really excited about it. It will adapt the Lethal Protectors and Planet of the Symbiotes storylines, and there's a rumor that there's going to be multiple symbiotes, including Carnage, in the film. I think it sounds pretty cool, but I want to know, what do you guys think about all of this? Are you still hung up on the whole MCU Sony MUC thing? I mean, do you have any faith in Sony whatsoever? Do you wish that they would just do this within the MCU? Let me know your thoughts. Let's have a conversation about this in the comment section. All right, let's check that nerd card really quickly. I want to know, who was the first person to be known as the Scarlet Spider in the comics? I brought up the Scarlet Spider earlier in this video, and I want to know, who was the first Scarlet Spider? Answer that question in the comment section below. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and nerdy day. See ya!